What is going on, everybody? It's your man Chris Desir, Astrology Universe, here back with another live stream. It's been a little minute since I've been outside, been in the sun. We are still in winter season. We are soon about to enter into Aries season, the first zodiac sign to start of spring. That will be on March 21st. And that's going to be 0 degrees of Aries, and we'll enter the spring. But you know, since we are almost there, some of the energy that we would be feeling in the changing of the season is already starting to happen. Trees are starting to grow back flower petals again, as everybody can see. Look, if you would go outside, trees are starting to grow back their petals. The leaves are starting to come back into order. Things are starting to look the way they're supposed to. Things are starting to look the way they're supposed to. I hope you enjoyed your winter season. I hope it wasn't that rough for you wherever you live in the world. And it's just good sometimes to get outside and take a little bit of sun, get some energy back in your body, right? I have been on TikTok, and I have been on Facebook, and I have been on Instagram far more than I have been on YouTube for this past while. Really been focusing on honing my skills as an astrologer, but a major transit has just taken place. Saturn is no longer in Aquarius. Saturn, which is a planet I have talked about a lot during my live streams, a lot in the past, is now currently has entered into the sign of Pisces. Saturn is control, it is restriction, it is responsibilities, it is your level of fame, your status, your reputation in the public eye. It also points to your hardships, it points to destruction, things you do not like, losing, things of that nature and intent as well. Pisces is going to point to your beliefs, your spirituality, your faith. It points to hospitals, it points to prisons, it points to churches, things of those places in regards as well. It points to everything regarding the ocean, in regards to music. So you might see that there's a difficult time people are having with any of these things, or more responsibilities are going to be put onto these places, or more of these places are going to be shut down during these next 2.5 years, because it takes Saturn about 2.5 years bare minimum to transit through a zodiac sign. We had a long period these last 2.5 years with Saturn in Aquarius. Looking back at how this was during the whole lockdown era, Saturn had made its way into Aquarius. All types of businesses were shutting down. Corporations were shutting down. Internet companies were coming out under flack. Billionaires like Mark Zuckerberg lost so much money because of the square from Saturn to Taurus. Saturn in Aquarius squaring Taurus. We saw so many things. Metaverse stopped working properly. All of that was given an indication by Saturn. All these tech companies or tech fields going under flack. Your favorite internet personas or things happening online, so much backlash from companies not delivering orders on time, delays with orders, things of those events. You will not be feeling that energy as rough as you have been feeling it for another 30 years, because it takes Saturn about 30 years to go throughout the zodiac. So this Saturn in Saturn in Aquarius that it just left, you will not see Saturn enter again into Aquarius for another 30 years. Some people like me are not even at the age of 30 yet. This is a transit that will last basically more than a lifetime. In terms of lifetimes, usually in the court system, 25 years is usually considered the bare minimum for a life sentence. 25 years to life. That's in terms of the court system. Astrologically, Saturn would indicate 30 years, because even in Vedic measure, non-American measure, or non-Western, pardon me, in Vedic measure versus tropical measure, Vedic versus tropical, Western versus sidereal, however you want to look at it, Both systems use Saturn, but in Vedic astrology, they stop at Saturn. They do not use any of the outer planets like Uranus. Some people may still call it Uranus. They do not use Neptune or Pluto. Whether you consider Pluto to be a planetoid or not, it does have relevance in modern astrology, Western astrology, tropical astrology. We are now coming into, and we are in, to be better phrased, since March 7th, we have entered into that 2.5 year period where Saturn is now going to be into Pisces, and everything that I said is going to be true. Pisces also points to drugs. It also points to medicinal drugs, illegal drugs, any drugs of the sort. So it will point to you having difficulties or delays or hard times getting said things or more responsibilities around the drugs you are taking, the effects you may have while you take them may be amplified to cause you more problems, or your lack or restriction from them may cause you more problems, especially if you needed medication. These are things that could happen to you. Now, 2.5 years broken down into 30 degrees, because there are 30 degrees in each zodiac sign. The zodiac is 360 degrees, right? Because a circle is 360 degrees, an oval is 360 degrees, anything that is circular in shape is 360 degrees. There are 12 zodiac signs, so 1/12 of 360 degrees, or 360 divided by 12 will give you 30. There are 30 degrees per sign. Since there are 30 degrees per sign, you would see that wherever your natal Saturn is and wherever your natal Sun is, you should pay attention to those positions. Most people do not even know what degree their sun sign is in. So before we get directly into degrees, let's talk about your sign, what signs will be affected by this the most, and what signs should or could see more benefit during this period in time. Let's talk about first, and going through all 12 signs. If you're in Aries, let's do fire signs first. If you're in Aries, and this means Aries sun sign, if Saturn is currently in Pisces, which is going to be in your natal 12th house for these next 2.5 years, which means you're going to find difficulty with sleeping, insomnia, difficulties at home, in private with your room, reconstruction, deconstruction of your room, tearing things down, finding yourself put into more scenarios where you have to be more, where in your private life, in private, you're going to have to deal with more responsibility, or you're going to find it much more difficult to sleep or just maintain yourself, Aries, when it comes to that amount of work or action you may be taking. But this will be even more affected if you do, for in fact, know your natal Saturn placement. Now let's go to the other fire sign. Let's go to Leo. Leos, this is going to be taking place in your natal 8th house. Leos, with Saturn going to be in your natal 8th house, this could point to losses in the family. It could point to very intense life or death situations around you. Very transformative time for you in your life because of losses, possibly towards the father unit or family, or because of your boss, things of that nature, more responsibility being put on your shoulders, or you being affected or taking or being under hate, jealousy, or resentment towards things happening to you, because it's going to be sitting in your 8th. Sagittarius, this is going to be sitting in your 4th house. Difficulties when it comes to your home life, things of that nature and intent when it comes to your home life. Points to more responsibility when it comes to the home, maybe construction going on at the home, destruction, a lot of building or tearing down things in your house that are no longer of relevance to you and are going to be in need of more relevance to you during this period of time. This is going to also difficulties or responsibilities now as a parent, becoming a parent, or having to deal with emotional restriction, becoming more emotionally prevalent during this period of time as well. Let's talk about the earth signs now. Taurus sun signs. Taurus sun sign, this is going to be sitting in your 11th house. It's going to point to difficulties or delays when it comes to your friends, difficulties with your friends, things of that nature and intent. You can also apply this to your rising sign if you know your rising sign. But this is going to point towards difficulties when it comes to or with your friends, when it comes to your public image, things of that nature, and then more responsibility around it. You having to be more of a big brother to your friends, or your friends having to take more responsibility for you. You may have to really take charge in realizing that you may be alone more during this period of time, because you may not feel like you can rely on your friends, because the level of responsibility you think that they have to you or you have to them is not going to be on par. Going towards Virgo sun signs, Virgo risings. Virgo, this is going to be sitting in your seventh house. This is going to be pointing towards more responsibility when it comes to a partner. This is going to be in your partner's life. If you have a partner, since it's sitting in your seventh house, the seventh house is going to point towards what your partner may need from you. More, if you have a partner, more responsibility to said partner, more things with the partner, ending of relationships. If you are in a relationship, maybe the relationship is end. Or if you want to get into a relationship, more things need to be done. You must be in a higher status. You must have your job in order, your career in order. You must be well known. Things of that may come in place. A very rocky time or very heartfelt time, which you really trying to figure out when it comes to relationships or a partner during this period of time. It can also be a time for you to really cut yourself off if you have been in a toxic relationships or you've been too relationship heavy during this period of time. It is also a time for you to really realize that you can step back or say no to relationships you don't need. Going towards Capricorn, this is going to be sitting in your third house. Having Saturn now sitting in your third house is going to point towards you dealing with situations regarding your closest friends, your siblings, your cousins, things of that nature and intent. You may find difficulties when it comes towards them, things of that nature and intent. You may find difficulties when it comes towards communication, when it comes towards your identification. If you need to get paperwork done in your name, things of that order, you may find difficulties with that. Loss of identification, losing your ID, having to go, to be a more responsible person, to be a more functioning person, you may have to do a lot more paperwork, get more things ready for you in your name, things of that nature. Or you may have bosses or coworkers implementing more work upon you, or your siblings just again will require more responsibility from you during this period of time, really testing your a lot of mental trauma, not mental trauma, a lot of mental mental hardships. It may be more difficult for you to think, or you will have to make very critical decisions during these periods of time. Going into the air signs now, Gemini air sign. And this is going to be, Saturn is going to be sitting in your Pisces, is going to be sitting in your 10th. Saturn is going to be sitting in your 10th. Saturn is the natural ruler of the 10th house, the 10th cusp as well as that. So Saturn sitting in your natal 10, this is going to be a time for you to really be, it could point towards the ending of a career or more responsibility when it comes to your career. It's going to point to you really making a name for yourself. This could be a point that can make or break you, and maybe both could happen. Again, this is over the course of 2.5 years, and depending on which degree you're at. Remember, we're still talking about degrees. We're going to get to there later. Depending on what degrees your placements are at, this is going to be a time for you to make or break your career, where you can really excel to the top, and having to deal with more responsibilities when it comes to your career, maybe through the ending of one career, starting of another, or it's going to point towards anything having to do with you in being a manager, starting to become a manager, apply more to becoming a boss, taking some sort of manager leading role, boss type position in whatever field you're currently doing, things of that nature, in intent, or being more responsible when it comes to your use of drugs and things of that nature and intent. This is going to be a very fortifying time for you to really refine the person you really are trying to be during these next 2.5 years. Now, when it comes towards Libra, this is going to be in your Libra, in Capricorn, Aquarius, in your sixth. Libra, this is going to be in your sixth house. Libra, this is going to affect your work. This is going to be your work environment. Maybe you're going to lose a job. It's going to point to you losing a job. If not your career, losing a job, difficulties with coworkers, hating your, like, not hate towards coworkers not liking you. You may not like your coworkers, changing of your jobs, applying difficulties, applying for work, applying for jobs during this period of time. You may end your habits, cut back on your routines, things of that nature. You may have a routine you were following, or a habit, a diet you were following. That may go out the window during a certain period of time throughout this year, where you may no longer be able to habitualize the way you once were, using that as well. And with that coming together, you're going to have to build new habits, or really break through the mold and really have to deal with the responsibility of taking care of your everyday tasks and really improving yourself to be the person you want to be. When it comes towards now the final air sign, Aquarius, this is going to be taking place in your second house. Difficulty with income, difficulty with money, difficulty with your values, your sense of morality, what you think is right versus wrong. Well, not consciously per se, but mainly with income, with your business. Difficulties during these next 2.5 years having to do with that, with you very much your monetary gain in that regard. More responsibility being placed upon you, having to deal with your money. Going into the water signs, finally the water signs, this is going to be first we're going to talk about cancers. This is going to take place in your ninth house. Difficulties or hardships when it comes to your education. Maybe you're going to, if you are in school, if you're in college, if you're in university, if you're in any of these things, this can point towards you getting a career out of this, but it can also point to you losing your leaving school, dropping out of school, having some sort of difficulty or hardship that makes sure you cannot finish school for some reason. Maybe you need to take a break for whatever may be happening during that period of time. That is going to be affecting you, Cancer, during these next 2.5 years. During the schooling, maybe with travel difficulties or delays when it comes to traveling. Maybe if you're trying to go to across the country, go to a different state, you're going to find yourself in massive delays or hardships when it comes to that as well. And on top of that, Cancer, is going to be it's going to be really hard for you to find genuine just things that are going to make you happy. I would recommend for you to just stick to the grind and get used to the mundane and the everyday tasks, because these next 2.5 years are going to really be affecting your overall happiness. Next, we're going to be talking about, after Cancer, we're going to be talking about Scorpio, this is going to be taking place in your fifth house. This is going to be taking place in your fifth house. This is going to be affecting your love life. Not necessarily your relationship life, but your love life is going to be pointing to you having a difficult time doing things that were naturally easy to you at some point in time. Drugs or things you may have been taking, music, dancing, for whatever something that you were naturally used to be good at, Piscean wise, is going to be a lot harder for you during this period in time to do those said things. It's going to be like you feel restricted for some reason, like you cannot do those things as well because of that placement going on in the chart. You're going to have to It's going to also affect your first child. You may, if you have children, it will be difficulties with your first child. Your first child is going to be going through a lot of problems if you are the first child towards your family, in your sibling household, things of that nature. People may not like you. You may not like what your family may be doing to you, but it's going to be harder for you to do things that you weren't once naturally good at. You're going to have to put more effort into doing those said things during these next 2.5 years. Now coming in towards, and you may it may be difficulties with your love life, as well as I talk about getting into more romanticizing affairs. You won't be able to do those as much. Now talking about Pisces, finally Pisces, Saturn is in your house. Saturn is in your house. Is going to be affecting your personality. It's going to be harder for you to truly be yourself. It's going to be harder for you to truly say what's on your mind or do things for yourself, or you're going to have to find yourself in situations where there's new or more responsibility that you have to take on if you truly are to do things for yourself. If you really want to do things for yourself, more responsibility is going to be needed. Now that was all 12 signs done. Took about 10 minutes to do so, but that was for your sun sign or your rising sign. So I hope you got value out of that. Now, even more important than just your sun sign, if you can find this, please, it is easy to search up. Go online, just type in zodiac chart, natal chart, whatever you want. Zodiac chart, natal chart, astrology chart, whatever you want. Go to any website. I recommend Astro Seek, ASTRO SEEK.com. I recommend Astro Cafe. Astro, well, I wouldn't go to astro.com. It could be a little bit more difficult, but those first two, Astro Seek or Astro Cafe, ASTROCAFE.com. Go to any one of those two sites, put in your birth information, look for where it allows you to put in your birthday information, put as much information that you can find out, and pull up your birth chart and see where your natal Saturn will be. Saturn and where your natal Saturn will be will affect the amount of difficulty you'll be facing. Since Pisces is currently where Saturn is going to be, if you have your natal Saturn in Pisces, or you have it in Gemini, or you have it in Virgo, or you have it in Sagittarius, and I will say it again, and this time I'm going to say it in zodiac order. If you have your natal Saturn, when you find it, or if you know it, in Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, or Pisces, you are having what they call a Saturn square, Saturn opposition, or Saturn return. This is going to be some of the hardest, most challenging periods in your life when this aspect comes about. I have just come out of my Saturn square. I have Saturn in Taurus. When Saturn was still in Aquarius, which it just was in and it just left, I was going through my Saturn square for over 2.5 years because Saturn went retrograde for a little bit longer period of time. So I have just now come out of my Saturn square, and since Saturn was just in Aquarius, it was with me having to deal with being more alone or more restriction from friends, and coming to realize what it truly means to have friends versus what I think that friend should be. And coming out of that Saturn, and as somebody who just came out of a Saturn square, I can tell you, after you survive it, it doesn't go back to the way it was before the Saturn square. You are just finally more used to life after the lessons and or new responsibilities you had to go through during the Saturn square. So if you are having your Saturn return, which means you are turning 28 to 30, you're turning 58 to 60, you're turning 88 to 90, just about, you for a fact are having your Saturn return. If you are, and here I will tell you the ages you are turning right now. If you are, besides the ages already mentioned, if you are 7, 14, 21, I already said 28, 27, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, 56, it goes by sevens. If you are any of those ages, you are or you're about to be any of those ages, by a multiple of 7, you are entering your Saturn square. And in Pisces, everything that I mentioned for Pisces is going to affect you too. It's going to be affecting your dreams and what you believe. So whatever you thought the world was supposed to be like, that you perceived it to be, you're going to go through a lot of hardships that are going to make you believe something different, believe something new. And this is going to be affecting people with Saturn in Gemini, which means if you were born Saturn in Gemini, you would have to be born in, I think, anywhere from 2002. No, because anywhere from 2001 to about 2003. So that would be the youngest right now where Saturn was in Gemini. This is going to be affecting your generation as well. This is going to be affecting y'all. Having Saturn in Pisces, you're about to be 30 years of age. Anywhere from 28 to 30 years of age. 7, 14, 21, 28. Yep, you're going to be having your Saturn square as well. Saturn return. Saturn in, where would it be now? Saturn in Virgo. I think you would be, no, Saturn there, Saturn Gemini. If you're any multiple of 7, but any multiple of 7, you're going to be feeling it right now in the mutable signs. So it is very important for you to know where is your natal Saturn, because that is going to point to the level of hardships. What I told you for your sun sign may affect you on your birthday for a bit, but it's not going to affect you throughout the entire year, or most definitely will not be affecting you for the entirety of the 2.5 years. Your Saturn position will tell you, more importantly, how hard, the level of difficulty you will be facing. And more importantly is this, to know exactly when around the period of time you should be facing peak difficulty, peak responsibility, peak hardship. Another reason why you need to get your birth chart. Look towards your birth chart and look towards the degree, the numbered degree right next to it. For example, if you look at your chart and you were born on March 21st, if you were born on March 21st and you go look up your birth chart, it is going to say 0 degrees, 00 degrees Aries. Memorize that number. Whatever number that is next to your Saturn as well, your Saturn could say 2 degrees or 12 degrees Saturn. Memorize that number as well. When Saturn reaches the exact same degree in the current daily chart as the chart that you pulled up online, your natal chart, your zodiac chart, when those two numbers match, you will be feeling peak difficulty, peak Saturn energy. When your sun degree, remember, for use the example I gave you, if you were born on March 21st, whatever birthday you have, when your sun degree touches that natal Saturn, you will also be feeling that peak energy of that difficulty that day as well. Saturn is currently 0 degrees, about to be 1 degree. It may even be 1 degree right now. It may even be 1 degree right now. So if you are a Pisces, a Gemini, a Virgo, or a Sagittarius, and you were born May 21st 21st or May 22nd. You were born February 18th or February 19th. You were born November 22nd or November 23rd. If you were born August 23rd or August 24th, you're feeling that Saturn, the peak energy of your Saturn right here, right now. Simply because your birthday, simply because your birthday lines up with the current path of Saturn right now. So you are the first group of people in the world to be feeling this return of the Saturn energy right now. That's how that works. So if you have a friend or you know anybody, any parent, anybody in your life that is born on those birthdays, on those particular days I gave you, you could watch this video again or save them. You should know. You can let them know. And only you can do this because I can't force somebody to do this for them. But this has been a quick breakdown, about 30 minutes or so breakdown of Saturn in Pisces. Soon on March 24th, Pluto, for the first time in 200 and I think 48 years, my math may be wrong, but almost 250 years, Pluto will be entering the sign of Aquarius again. It's going to be entering into Aquarius for about 2 to 3 months. Then it's going to retrograde back into Capricorn. And then for the rest of the year, and then going back into the beginning of the year next year, Pluto's going to be fully into Aquarius. So you're going to be getting 2 Pluto and Aquarius live streams from me. And what energies you should be expecting. That's going to be a much longer live stream. But I've made a multiple Pluto Aquarius videos, and it's almost time. The time is coming. The time is coming. And again, for Saturn in Pisces, pay attention to the news, pay attention to hospitals, prisons, churches, pay attention to all of these places, or more of these places. Pay attention to on your news, on your local stations, pay attention to your favorite songs, artists, rap scenarios, pay attention to all these big media places, see if there's going to be, if they're having any hardship, see if any of their buildings are being destroyed, see if any new buildings are being constructed, see if more people are rising to fame or power in any of these industries or fields that I've mentioned before. You will see it's true, and I will try to keep up on my end. But this has been Chris Desir, Astrology Universe, Osiris Asar. Catch y'all next time.